Hi, good morning everyone. So today we will be diving more deep into the types and classification of the joints. So in the previous video we saw the broad classification of joints. Today we will be diving more deep into the structural and functional classification of joints. So joints according to structure and function are divided into fibrous type, cartilaginous type and synovial type. Now first looking at the fibrous type of joint. Fibrous type of joint are immovable joints because they are joined in together by some fibrocartilage or fibrous tissue between them, and hence they are also known as synarthrosis. Syn means fused, they won't be allowing any movement at all, and arthrosis means joint. So immovable joint or joints which allow for least or no mobility at all and highest amount of stability are fibrous or immovable joint, which are present in the sutures of our skull and gomphosis joint in the teeth. Sutures of our skull, the parietal suture, the coronal and sagittal suture, which are dividing the different bones of our skull, okay, and they are fused together by the fibrous tissue, so they won't be allowing for any movement at all, and hence they are protective in function. Now the gomphosis type of joint, where the teeth is embedded into the socket with the root and it is then fused with the mandible bone so that it allows for no movement at all. Next, we come to cartilaginous type of joint, which are slightly movable joint or amphiarthrosis. Amphi means showing two characteristics at the same time. So, they are showing some characteristic of immovable joints and some characteristics of freely movable joint. So, they are slightly movable or they allow only for a little bit of movement. So, they also provide us high amount of stability and only little bit mobility in them. And cartilaginous joints are named so because they are either fused together by a hyaline cartilage or a fibrocartilage. Now, amphiarthrosis joint or cartilaginous joints are further of two types, which is the primary type and the secondary type. Primary type of joints or primary type of cartilaginous joints are present between the epiphysis and diaphysis area of the growing bone because they are not permanent right now. As the child grows, after that this hyaline cartilaginous joint or hyaline cartilaginous area will be replaced by the ossification of the bone and calcification of the bone. But in the secondary cartilaginous joint, this pubic symphysis, for example, the fibrocartilage present over here, it will be present for the whole lifetime. That is why they are secondary cartilaginous joints and these are the primary cartilaginous joint. Now we come to the last classification of the synovial joint, that are the freely movable joint or diarthrosis. That means they provide highest amount of mobility and therefore they have the least amount of stability. Now according to the types of movement they allow for the joint to make and the types of axis or the degree of freedom they allow for the joint for the movement, they are divided into plain synovial joint, uniaxial joint, biaxial joint and the polyaxial joints. In the plain axial joint, the two articular surfaces are totally plane with according to each other, in context with each other, and they have no axis for movement. For example, the joints between the intercarpal joint. Then comes the uniaxial joint, in which the synovial joint or the synovial cavity allows for 1 degree freedom of movement. That means it has one axis for allowing for the movement of joint. For example, the hinge joint in our elbow, which allows only for flexion and extension. Then comes the biaxial joint, which allows for 2 degree freedom of movement. That means it has two axes for freedom of movement. For example, our knee joint. And then comes the polyaxial joint, which allows for more than 2 degree freedom of movement, usually the ball and socket type of joint, and it allows for 3 degree freedom of movement. And in the synovial joint, any joint is known as synovial joint when they have two articular surfaces, okay, but they are not in direct contact with each other. They have a synovial cavity formed in between, and then they are lined by synovial membrane with synovial fluid in it, and the bones are joined by the ligaments, and then they have some cartilaginous structure or hyaline cartilage also inside them. Okay, so this was the structural and functional classification of joints in fibrous, cartilaginous and synovial classification. In the next video, we will be diving more deep into the main classification of our synovial joints, which are present in the appendicular skeleton, and these are the maximum number of joints that we have in our body. Thank you.